IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury.
A heartbreaking day for the racing community and Las Vegas as a whole. Two-time Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Wheldon dead after a fiery 15-car crash at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Elizabeth Watts. The Las Vegas Indy 300 marred by tragedy this afternoon when an accident on the track sent the cars sailing, killing driver Dan Wheldon. Let's get straight into our team coverage tonight. Fox 5's Matt DeLucia witnessed the horrific crash and has reaction from fellow drivers. Doug Johnson is live at UMC where family, friends, and fans gathered to hear the news. But first, John Castanino joins us in studio with a breakdown of what happened out there. John.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth, Dan Wheldon, without a doubt, one of the most loved drivers in the sport. Very popular with the other drivers and fans for sure. Wheldon, he won the Indy 500 earlier this year, and today it was supposed to be a great day for IndyCar and for the Speedway, as it's been the first Indy race in Las Vegas held in 11 years, but it turned tragic very quickly. This race was the season finale to crown the champion, but here it is 11 laps in, the chaos lasting no more than 10 seconds long. 15 cars involved in this. Cars all traveling over 200 miles an hour, and they just disintegrate in this accident. These cars even faster than the ones used in NASCAR. Now, there's a spot shuttle. That's Wheldon's car right there, caught in the mess, goes through the air, he flips over, and eventually goes straight into the fence and catches fire. The car basically split in half after this accident. Wheldon, he was airlifted to UMC where he was pronounced dead. Tonight, we received this statement from Sam Schmidt, who lives in Henderson. He's the owner of Wheldon's car. He says Dan Wheldon was a tremendous competitor, a great racer, an even better person. It was an honor to have him be a part of our team. All of us at Sam Schmidt Motorsports are deeply saddened by his passing. On behalf of everyone at Sam Schmidt Motorsports, our prayers go out to all of his family, especially his wife Susie and their two children. And kind of one of the worst parts about this, Elizabeth, is that next year Indy, they're going to debut a new type of car, a safer car, and Dan Wheldon, he's been the main driver testing all of those cars all year long. So some irony in this, where he was reporting to the other drivers about this new safer car and how safe it actually was. And again, before the race started, drivers knew the track was running fast. A lot of them were worried about big crashes. Coming up in Sports Plus tonight, you're going to hear from the drivers talking specifically about that. Elizabeth?
John, just such a tragedy, and the only reason he was driving in this event was because he was part of a $5 million challenge.
Yeah, that's right. A big sponsorship deal where if you started last in the pack and then ended up finishing first, he was going to win $5 million, half for him, half for a fan from New Jersey. And we just actually ran a soundbite just yesterday of Dan Wheldon talking about wanting to win this $5 million to split between him and the fans. So again, to see it happen just yesterday, and then he's gone today. Again, obviously tragic news and just so sudden in the racing world and in the world in general.
Just so tragic. Thanks, John. We'll see you in a little bit. Thousands witnessed today's explosive crash in person, but none more closely than fellow drivers who are part of it. Fox 5's Matt DeLucia is live at the Speedway tonight. Matt, you have been there all day, and you were there when this all happened.
I was, Elizabeth, and you know, believe it or not, my photographer Chris Delkamp and I were actually on our way to Dan Wheldon's pit to see him come in for that first stop. That was when we heard the sound of the crash and the collective gasp of everyone in the crowd, and right then and there, the entire mood of the race changed. In the seconds following a 15-car pileup at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the crowd became silent. The smoke and flames played out a scene few had ever witnessed.
Scary. Scary. Cars bursting in flames, hitting the walls.
You could see the smoke and the flame and everything, and you could see the proportion of it. Everybody was running from this side of the pits over to the other side of to see the view.
Fans who came for a fun day of racing went home with heavy hearts.
You hope you actually never see an accident like that. You know, I mean, you're here to see exciting racing. You're not here to see someone get hurt.
Just off the track, garages were filled with the mangled wreckage and pieces of cars caught up in the crash. After a 2-hour delay, just after 3 p.m., IndyCar CEO Randy Bernard made the announcement.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury.
On the track, some were in tears, others appeared to be in shock, including fellow drivers.
It's certainly very difficult for everyone in the community.
Trackside, hundreds gathered to watch a 5-lap salute to a racer, husband, and father of 2 small children.
I lost one of my best friends, one of my greatest teammates, and I don't know what to say.
just proves no matter how hard, however many people work on making this sport as safe as it can be, there's always an element of risk. It is a very black day in the sport.
Yeah, the sentiment felt throughout the Speedway tonight, and the drivers we spoke with say all they can do right now is pray for Dan Wheldon's friends and family. Elizabeth, just a few moments ago, you and John were talking about that $5 million prize on the line. Dan Wheldon had a lot on the line for this race. People were talking about that as they were coming in this morning. They were excited. It was a different element to this race that made people very enthusiastic about it. Sadly, that is the last thing on people's minds tonight, and the return of IndyCar to Las Vegas has come to a tragic end on this day. Live at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I'm Matt DeLucia, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
All right, Matt, thanks so much for bringing us that report tonight. The entire IndyCar racing community in shock tonight, obviously, by Wheldon's death. And many in the racing community rushed to UMC Trauma Center right after the crash. Fox 5's Doug Johnson joins us live there now. And Doug, tell us how they're all dealing with this devastating loss tonight.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth, it's certainly been a grim mood here at UMC, and we've seen a lot of the IndyCar community coming and going throughout the afternoon. Some of them telling us that much of Wheldon's family was here and got here shortly after he arrived by helicopter. Several hours after Dan Wheldon was airlifted to UMC Trauma Center, an IndyCar spokesperson confirmed what many had feared.
Dan Wheldon has passed away due to unsurvivable injuries at the racetrack.
Wheldon was pronounced dead at the hospital, but officials aren't ruling out the possibility he died on impact. Wheldon's 3 brothers, his sister, his wife Susie, and his 2 sons, aged 2 and 7 months, were at the track at the time of the crash. All of them rushed to the hospital shortly afterward.
Everybody's in shock, and it's the risk that comes with the sport, but it is a huge loss to the whole IndyCar community and family.
Outside the hospital, the owner of Wheldon's car, Sam Schmidt, comforted other race team members, many taking the news hard. 3 other drivers who were injured in the same crash were also brought to UMC by ambulance, but their injuries weren't as severe. IndyCar saying Pippa Mann will be held overnight with a burn to her right pinky finger. J.R. Hildebrand also being held overnight, but is awake and alert, and Will Power has already been released. Meanwhile, IndyCar says today's tragedy has shocked the sports world, especially since so much has been done to ensure safety.
We do everything in our power to make sure the drivers are kept safe, so it's very unfortunate when an event like this happens, but unfortunately, the sport is very risky.
And we're told that Wheldon's parents currently live in the United Kingdom and are trying to make plans to get here now. Also, IndyCar officials are telling us that Wheldon has been racing since 2002, and he was 33 years old. Reporting live at UMC tonight, Doug Johnson, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
33 years old, so young, and with 2 young children and a wife. It's just so terrible. Thanks so much for the report, Doug. And just this past Wednesday, Wheldon was here in studio at Fox 5 for an interview with our Jason Feinberg. The driver promoted several charity events he was taking part in since he was not a full-time driver this year. He also talked about the future of Indy sports racing and about his excitement for today's race.
You know, it's going to be great for me. I'm in the number 77 Bowers & Wilkins at Magnolia William Rast car. It's a very similar setup to how I won the Indianapolis 500. So
very cool.
We're expecting big things.
Here's a look at some pictures a viewer sent us of Wheldon at one local charity event this week. He was helping fellow racer Graham Rahal raise $40,000 for Race for Research. If you'd like to watch the complete interview from Fox 5, just head to our website, fox5vegas.com. Thousands of fans across the nation took to social networking to remember Wheldon tonight. Within hours of the accident, several Facebook pages were set up. Many Fox 5 viewers left comments on our page expressing their condolences over the tragedy. Pamela writes, "I am still in shock after being at the track. My heart goes out to everyone involved." And Ken says, "I just finished dinner with my wife and kids and thought about Dan and his family. What a tragedy." Feel free to leave your comments on our Facebook or write to us on Twitter. For the latest updates, interviews, and slideshows on this tragedy, you can visit fox5vegas.com.